Today we're going to be talking about the OnePlus 11 versus the S23 Ultra. Two very good picks if you're trying to buy a older flagship phone, even though these aren't really old flagships. But yeah, it brings up a good question because the price here is quite different here in the used refurbished marketplace. $450 for the OnePlus 11, and then we are at $669. That is the best price for a used refurbished S23 Ultra, and of course, you'll pay more for both of these phones brand new as well too. But yeah, so this is a very good comparison because these phones have quite a bit of pros and cons. So it's really not a clear-cut decision like you would think. Most people would say just pay the extra money, get the S23, but that's not really the case because you might not need all of the extra features that this phone has. So let's talk about the design. Two very nice designs. They're both glass and metal phones. I absolutely love the textured back on the OnePlus 11. It is really nice looking and feels great. You do have a matte finish on the S23 as well too, which looks good. You don't really pick up fingerprints with these devices, which is always nice. The camera design looks great here. It really comes down to personal preference, whether you like kind of like the stove top look or the kind of circle waterfall look, I guess, on the S23. And I do think the OnePlus 11 is definitely more comfortable. It's not as pointy on the edges like the S23, so it just kind of fits into the palm a little bit better. And one thing that I really like about the OnePlus phones is that you do have the alert slider on here. So I just absolutely love this. I think it's just really useful. I like that it's textured as well too. One of the things you'll notice is that the OnePlus 11 is IP64, so it's not IP68 like the S23 Ultra. So it's just not as good of a water rating, but you also do have the S Pen on the S23 as well too. I think this plays a big factor in the comparison as well too, because it depends on whether you're going to use this or not. There's a lot of stuff to like about the S Pen, as far as you can use it if you're a content creator to take photos and videos from a distance. You can do digital artwork. Samsung has a bunch of stuff in here that you could take advantage of, coloring books and all sorts of cool stuff with this thing, taking notes of course. So it just depends on whether you're going to use it or not. I think that plays a big part of it as well too. Let's talk about the displays here. So on the OnePlus 11, it's a curved 6.7 inch display, LTPO3. It is 120 Hertz Dolby Vision HDR10 Plus, 1300 nits peak brightness, and it is a 1440p panel, 512 or 525 for the PPI. The S23 Ultra has a curved panel, but it's not as, I guess, aggressive. It's curved, but it's not, it's like a minimalist curve, right? And it's 6.8 inches, and it's a dynamic AMOLED, 120 Hertz HDR10 Plus. It does have a higher max brightness, so outdoors in direct sunlight, the S23 will look better. It'll be brighter and easier to see as well too. It's 1750 nits, and it's 1440p 500 for the PPI. Two very beautiful displays. I really like the squared off display on the S23 Ultra. I think it looks really good. And I don't have an issue with the display on the OnePlus 11. It just comes down to personal preference. But I like that it kind of looks more like a TV screen. But like I said, the drawback to that is that the S23 is not as comfortable to hold. And again, you can manage this with like a case, right? You can put a case on the S23. It kind of takes away that cutting feeling. But that's one of the things that I noticed holding these two phones. Looking at the displays, colors are fantastic on both of these phones. They're very smooth. 120 Hertz display, so the display is very good on both of these phones. I was told back to bring my app speed test back, so yeah, we're gonna do a quick little speed test. These phones both have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor on here. The OnePlus 11 has the 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM, and then the Galaxy here also has the 256 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM. So let's go ahead and just jump in. And the interesting thing about this is I just want to see kind of which phone kind of hooks up with animations. They're both pretty much going to be the same in terms of speed. They're both very fast. The Oxygen OS is pretty fast, pretty smooth. Both very fluid animations here. Let's go YouTube. Okay. So we can see the S23 is a little bit faster, it looks like, in launching applications. It's just a tad bit faster. It's not anything that you would really notice in real life, but you guys can see very, very fast. Come on, man, I can get this. All right. But yeah, so as far as the speed goes, animations and everything, as you guys can see, look really good on both of these phones. As far as One UI versus Oxygen OS, it really depends on, you know, your personal preference and what you like. So the good thing about the OnePlus 11 is that you're getting a cheaper price and you're pretty much getting the same performance when it comes to gaming. So both of these phones can play PUBG at 120 frames, and like I said, the gaming experience is identical. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 in general is really good processor for gaming. These phones really don't heat up or anything like that. I've never had an issue with performance. So you can see, so if you are a gamer, and I would say if you are strictly like gaming is a top priority, it's like one of the main reasons you're, you know, buying a newer phone, I would say get the OnePlus 11. You're saving quite a bit of money. And yeah, it's a pretty good deal for gaming because it's much cheaper than the S23 Ultra. You'll be paying $450 versus almost $700 for the S23. But like I said, this comes down to priority. So what is your priority will pretty much tell you which phone to get. The speakers at max volume. We'll start with the 11. So easily the S23 Ultra has a better speaker just overall. It just sounds better. It sounds more expensive. It sounds like a higher quality speaker. It's very, very noticeable here. And that's not to say that this has a bad speaker, but you can immediately tell the difference. It just sounds like a completely different quality. Yeah, it's loud, it sounds clear, but it doesn't sound as crisp and well tuned, I guess. Yeah, I think that easily is the S23. I don't even think it's close, actually. Let's go ahead and talk about the fingerprint sensor. What's kind of interesting about the OnePlus fingerprint sensor, it is an optical one, but it's super, super fast for an optical fingerprint sensor. This might be like one of the fastest. They've always done this optical fingerprint sensor really well, because I remember on the OnePlus 7 Pro, it was super, I mean, this is fast. It feels like an ultrasonic one, but the spec is reading that it's, you know, it's an optical one. The ultra wide, that's why I said it feels like the ultrasonic one. So I would say they both feel the same actually in terms of face unlock and fingerprint scanner. So here is the big one that will swing basically. I think, and this is just what I think, I'm going to show you guys the steals, but I think the S23 takes better photos, is the better camera system. That's just me, just from looking at the shots, looking at the video. I just think as a entire camera system is better. Spec wise, it's also going to be better. But the OnePlus 11 is good for taking, you know, steals, as you're going to see. But I would say if you somebody who's into cameras, I would get the S23. You have more capability with zoom photography as well too. If you're somebody, you go to, you know, basketball games or whatever sporting events, you can zoom in and get very good shots. But the specs read, you have a 50 megapixel standard on the OnePlus 11, a 32 megapixel telephoto with 2x optical zoom, and then you also do have a 48 megapixel ultra wide. It can shoot an 8K 24 with a 16 megapixel selfie. The selfie only shoots in 1080-30 though. You also have on the S23 a 200 megapixel standard, 10 megapixel telephoto, 3x optical, 10 megapixel periscope telephoto, 10 times optical, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It can shoot an 8K 24 and 30, and then the front is a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. So you guys can see there's quite a bit of spec difference there. But check out these stills and video. Now, the battery situation is very interesting on these two phones here. So what's going on here is that the OnePlus 11 has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, but it has no wireless charging. But what's really cool about this phone, and I personally would prefer this, I like the wireless, or I like the fast charging that it does. It comes with a fast charging brick, 80 to 100 watts depending on if you're in China or USA, and it charges crazy fast. It is really good, guys. I really like having the 80 watt charger. If your phone is low on like 20 something percent, put it on the 80 watt charger and you're ready to go like 5-10 minutes, and this thing is already juiced up. I mean, I had this at like 30%, left it on the thing charger for like 10 minutes, and it was like at 90%. The S23 has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery as well, has much slower charging at 45 watts, but you do get the advantage of wireless and reverse wireless charging. So it really depends on the person, what you think. I like personally having the fast charging, and I like that they give you the charger brick as well. But that is pretty much it, guys. So both these phones have excellent screen on time. I don't have an issue with battery life on either of these phones. So which one would you buy? Let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.